All right, so I've been playing with making watercolor paper out of mat boards, and that's working out good. So I seal them first, prime it, then put a few layers of gesso on both sides, and then on one side I'll do a watercolor ground, like 3-4 layers, and it's coming out pretty good. A little tricky to learn how to use it. Now I am getting some lines from the brushes. I don't know if you can see those lines, and they're so thin you can't even feel them. And I've sanded this paper, but I've used a paintbrush to put on the watercolor ground. So now I'm switching over to doing a roller first, and then a light brush, so that gets rid of the lines. But I kind of like the roller effect, so I'm going to try that on the watercolor ground. So I left that on the bottom like it's sand, and I bet you it's going to leave a sandy look to the paint when I'm done. The top I left smooth. So we'll try to do an ocean scene on this thing. It's a 3/16 birch panel that I put like 7 layers of primer on it. Now, the trick is when you prep your mat board, you got to paint both sides, gesso both sides, and prime both sides. Otherwise, you get this cupping. The paint dries and pulls in the paper and leaves it warped. Now, the minute I paint this other side, it'll flatten right out. So it's not a problem. I missed one, that's why it curled like that. So all these that have the old lines from the brush mark, I'm going to re-roll a layer of watercolor gesso on top to try to get rid of that. Once you hang it, you can't see it from far away, but this is only the first layer of paint, so after 2 more layers of watercolors on top of this, I bet you those lines disappear. Now the reason I can do layers is because I use my homemade xanthan gum medium. I call it goop. When you mix it, it turns into this thick material, but it works great on watercolors. You got to learn how to use it, but once you do, you can do some weird effects. That's what gives you all these cloudy water like bubbles. See you in a couple hours.